So, who ran a tighter ship? Or I guess a tighter TARDIS. So, I want to talk about Doctor Who, but I don't really want to talk about what's going on with it currently. I'm prepared to just set that aside. I'm enjoying my rewatch of the older stuff. I'm more than halfway. I'm getting to the tail end of Davies' run, and it's given me kind of a new, refreshed perspective on his run. And I thought, it's time to put the question head to head. Who ran the show better? Russell T Davies or Steven Moffat? And I'm not just going to do this, talking to myself. I'm bringing in a guest, and we're going to talk it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Crispy Pro. Crispy, it's great to talk to you. Thank you for volunteering to do this.
No, thank you very much, very, very much. Thank you, Council of Geeks. This is going to be an interesting discussion.
I think it will be. Now, just in case anybody tuning into this isn't familiar with you, just like super quick, your sort of relationship with Doctor Who. Is there a short version of that story?
Well, I only came in, my first episode was The Lodger, so I was very late in the game, but since then, I've gone back, and I've watched heaps, and I've just fallen in love with it, and through YouTube and everything, I've had a lot of cool experiences with Doctor Who, so, I don't normally get obsessed over things, but Doctor Who is the only one.
Okay. So even though you started with The Lodger, I am assuming that at this point you've at least seen all of the modern era Doctor Who.
Yes.
Okay.
I am still lacking quite a lot of knowledge in the classic area. However, that will be changing very soon. Keep tuned.
I mean, it's catching up on classic is a chore. Mm-hmm. So, yes. So you were brought on here because we're going to have ourselves a little conversation and a little bit of a debate about who the better showrunner was, Russell T Davies or Steven Moffat.
Correct.
Now, the reason you ended up here, because I actually peeked behind the curtain for folks, I actually reached out to a couple of people and just asked them, if you were asked this, which side would you go on? Because I wanted to find someone who normally, just their own instinct would be to take the opposite position that I'm going to take on this.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being debate team where I assign you something.
Where you assign, yeah.
And first couple of people went with the one that I'm going to go with. You were the first to go the other side.
Yep.
So that does mean that you're going to be arguing in favor of Moffat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be arguing in favor of Davies. Now, the one thing that I want to be clear both to the people watching and between the two of us, this is not about the quality of their writing in individual episodes. This is about their qualities for running the show overall. Because, at least for my part, if we're debating their merits as a writer, Moffat wins.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting, yeah.
But as a showrunner, I think Davies did it a little bit better.
Well, I want to just state before we get into this and everyone watching this, I do not hate Russell T Davies. As a matter of fact, I think he was an excellent writer and did brilliant things for the show. So I don't want people thinking, "Oh my gosh, he's a Russell T Davies hater. How could he hate it?" No, I think for me, I've enjoyed both eras thoroughly. I just want to say that before we get going.
Oh no, I have as well, and I mean the thing is, Moffat wrote both what are currently my favorite and most hated episodes of modern era Doctor Who. So my feelings about Moffat can be complicated, but he can be great, and I don't hate Moffat either. But these are still the positions that we're going to take. You know what? I'm going to give you first crack. If you were just to do your overall pitch to me as to why you think Moffat ran the show well, what's sort of your bullet point?
I loved his series arcs. However, thinking about it, I don't know. Series 5 has a special place for me. I thought it was just an absolute fairy tale, and it just kept you hooked and kept you going. And the whole story with Amelia, and they set up the fact that her wedding was coming up, and the crack in the wall. I thought that was all very well done and very well executed. And then, over time, sorry, I'm getting mad messages right now.
How dare you have a life?
It's my lawyers talking about Moffat. No, I'm kidding. So what was it? Oh yeah, and then like series 6 we had. Series 6 was when I like first came into it. Like the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon are two of my favorite episodes, mainly because that was my first ever series opener that I watched like with everyone. So it was very like no one knew anything. And then when the Doctor died, that just shook me, and how that was a series arc kept me hooked. And then we had Clara and what she was, and then I really enjoyed the series arcs and what he sets up throughout the series better than Davies did. Even though Davies did a great job with the Bad Wolf and Rose coming back, and the Vote Saxon to like a more subtler extent. So yeah, I just like the series arcs mainly.
And if your main pull is gonna be the series arcs, that's probably a decent argument. I've always kind of felt that the series arcs are kind of a weak point for the show, no matter who's been running it. I actually kind of hate the way modern era Doctor Who does series arcs, which is to just have something, whether it be a word in the case of Davies or a visual thing, just keep repeating until we get to the finale, and then we explain what the heck it was the whole time.
So that's a really good way of putting it.
I hate that. Well, I don't hate that inherently. I'm really sick of it. So I actually don't take the series arc too much into account either way. My thing with Davies and why he's actually kind of gone up in my estimation as time has gone on is a couple of things. While I don't always love his focus on the more melodramatic elements of Doctor Who, I like that his focus as a showrunner has always been on the emotional impact of the things. He'll have the occasional little bit of bendiness with the narrative, but by and large, his focus is on getting you emotionally invested into the characters. That's what his interest is in. That's what he really wants the audience to do. And the other thing is, I really feel that Davies refined what he did with each series. That's not to say that every single series was better than the latter, because I do think Series 1 is better than Series 2, but I think you can chalk up sort of not initially having planned to have to regenerate that early for a little bit of wonkiness.
Yeah.
But even Series 2 is, it's sort of taking the template of Series 1, again, finding its footing with a new Doctor, but then Series 3 gets tighter. Series 4, which is my favorite series of the show overall, gets tighter again.
Yeah.
If I were to compare that to Moffat, who I think his best series are Series 5 and Series 10, and he really kind of sine waved up and down all the way in between there. I have come to really have an affinity for sort of the reliability of Davies overall. I feel like in some ways he couldn't hit the same highs as Moffat did.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
But he also didn't hit the same lows.
Exactly.
And so it's a question of how much of a roller coaster are you willing to put up?
That's so true. That's a really good point. I will admit Russell T really did focus a lot on those relationships. Like, even with Martha and her family. Like Amy Pond, we saw her mum and her dad one episode. The strongest relationship in Moffat's era was probably Amy and Rory, and they were main companions. And like Clara, we saw her parents, nothing happened. Bill, we saw her like what was it like? Who was that woman? You see, I can't even remember who that woman was that she lived with. I
think it was just her roommate. Actually,
yeah, I know those relationships were lacking in the Moffat era, I will admit. But as I said, I feel like Moffat just went crazy, and as you said, he hit the lowest of lows, but he hit the highest of the highs during the era. And I don't know, I like his storytelling, because it's a bit more riskier than Russell T, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that, in theory, I can get behind. It's just the results were very iffy for me, because I can appreciate that Moffat took more chances. Yeah.
With the way that he kind of shook things up from series to series. Series 5 is very much built off the template of the Davies era in a lot of ways. And then Series 6 and Series 7, he tried something very different. And then, even Series 8, which was almost entirely self-contained, and then Series 9, which was mostly two-parters, he kept trying to shake it up. But there were some times I'm like, do you have a plan, or are you just doing something different on the off chance that maybe it helps?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure there was always a plan or a reason for the shakeups. And maybe I'm just getting like old and like tired of being jerked around, but there's something to be said for reliability. And actually, it's now occurring to me, it's not dissimilar for one of the reasons that I tend to like Marvel better than DC, both in terms of the movies and the comics.
Yeah.
Which is that DC at its best is usually far better than Marvel can be. But at least for my part, I rarely find that Marvel ever ticks me off as much as DC is capable of ticking me off.
That was one of the single best comparisons I think I have ever heard. That is incredible. Yeah, no, like Davies, I feel like he knew consistency, like the Series 1 template, it worked. It worked throughout his era. And then, like they mixed it up a little bit with the David Tennant specials, but even then, like Davies episodes have these certain flavors. You know what I mean? Like it's got that tang, it's got that taste, and it's a good taste. It's great. But for Moffat, it can either be the most delicious thing ever, or you want to vomit it back up and throw it to Gallifrey and Hellbent. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. So if you're gonna go food comparisons, what I would say is. What I would say is that Davies was the reliable, higher-end chain restaurant. I'm not talking like McDonald's, but like Olive Garden.
Yeah.
It's nice enough that you make it, and it's consistent. You know what getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Going into a Moffatt season, or even an individual episode, was like going into a little out-of-the-way restaurant that you hadn't heard of before. Maybe you're gonna have an undiscovered gem and the best meal you've ever had. Maybe you're gonna get food poisoning.
Yeah, this is good. I'm enjoying these comparisons.
So I think with sort of that, it doesn't make one automatically better than the other, but it is kind of like what gives you comfort? Is it some reliability or the roller coaster?
I see that's just the thing. I think that's literally what it boils down to. Like I mean, admittedly, I did grow up on the Moffat era, so like I am a little biased, but I genuinely enjoyed the roller coaster because the Series 6 opener really high, and then like the Wedding of River song never paid off for me. But then I enjoyed Asylum of the Daleks. I know it's a bit of a controversial one, but I
actually really like that one, and I still have a hard time figuring out why other people don't. But that could be another.
Well, I feel like one of the things that I can understand, like they marketed the episode as, it's going to have every Dalek in it, and then you see the special weapons Dalek for like 2 seconds at the side of the screen. Like that would have been, if they didn't market that at all and that was a sick Easter egg, I feel like wow, everyone would be like, oh my god, they had that in there, did you not see it? But the fact that they marketed that was pretty dumb.
This is where it works to my advantage that I almost never pay attention to the marketing, and I just wait for the episodes to come out.
You see, that's my problem. I pay way too much attention to the marketing. I don't know. I really genuinely enjoy the roller coaster, and like even like as you just said, Series 10 was one of your favorite series of Moffat, or just like in general.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's probably my favorite Moffat series, and it's one of my favorite series of the show.
You see, like even down to the series arc, like whilst yes we were presented with the vault, and you had to like wait a while to figure out what this vault was, but then after that the series arc changed from what is this to can the Master Missy be good, and that was brilliant. I loved how that played out in that last half of Series 10. I feel like that's a good way to do a series arc, even though it's half series.
Which was one of the reasons I liked Series 10 better than especially in that element, because yes, it introduced the same freaking thing that they do every time, which is the vault. What's in the vault? But then they open the vault like halfway through the series, and you're like,
that took me by surprise. They didn't even open it.
Don't know.
Like Capaldi was just sitting outside, being like, "Missy, I need your help." You're like, "Oh, so that's who's in the vault."
Yeah, but so like once you figure out who it was, like, okay, so they did that. Now I don't know where it's going.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Agreed.
So. Again, it's really good stuff. And again, part of me was surprised that when I actually sat down and thought, okay, if I'm going to have this conversation, what side am I actually going to defend? Because, like, there's a lot about Davies' era that I take issue with. The fact that I rate Tennant as a middling Doctor is probably my most controversial Doctor opinion.
Wow.
Yeah, again, not bad, but he's been dropping year over year. You know, as time has gone on, and especially as I've taken in more classic Doctors, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't really work for me all that well. He's not the bottom. Davison's the bottom, but
interesting.
But you know, so there's a lot in Russell's era that I'm like, this isn't great. But at the same time, I look at sort of what he did in terms of what his job was. To get in there and guide the ship and run the show and keep it on course and to refine what it was he did year over year and to have it build and to learn from his mistakes, which I think in many ways Donna was a corrective to Martha, which is not to say Martha's a bad character. I actually like Martha a lot, but I think Davies realized, boy, repeating that romance angle with the companion again, that really didn't work 2 times in a row. Let's do somebody who does not have that dynamic with him at all. And it felt more like he was trying to actually get better as opposed to let's just try something different.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Like that's something that did annoy me, like in the Davies. Like, well, what did you think of the whole Rose and Ten dynamic they had from like straight after 9 to 10?
I like it a little better now, having now gone back and revisited Series 2, because like sort of in a way kind of expelling from my mind what was the actual series, you know, the plant series arc, the mystery box of Torchwood. Ooh, Torchwood. Yeah. And actually tracking it, knowing where it's going, and tracking the series arc as being these two are having so much fun that they're not paying attention to how dire the situations are. And they're being way too cavalier about that, and then having that pay off in him losing her. I have a much greater appreciation for the build of that and the payoff of that than I did on first viewing. That said, I'm not a huge fan of the Doctor having a romantic tie with the companion. Like, as a premise, I don't like that. Having said that, that handled it about as well as it has been handled, or I think probably could be handled.
No, I see that. I didn't really think about that, but that, like, the, that payoff at the end with Rose, that could be argued that that's the stronger series arc. I like that angle. I really do enjoy that angle. The thing was, I didn't enjoy that Martha was, like as you said, following in Rose's footsteps, and I enjoy the fact that it didn't pay off for her. Like, to be honest, like I like the fact that the Doctor wasn't like, oh, okay, Rose is gone, Martha's got a thing for me, pretty much. I enjoy, but like it was annoying when she's like, that one of her last scenes where she's like, I had a roommate and never like they never saw, I don't know what she says, but I didn't think that necessarily paid off for Martha, even though that is such a strong series and such a strong 3-part finale. But you say what you were going to say.
Well, what I was going to say was, funnily enough, with what happened with Rose in Series 2, Moffat almost did something similar
with Clara
in Series 9 specifically, because he has Clara very much trying to be like the Doctor.
The Doctor, yeah.
And him warning her along the way, don't try and be me. Yeah. And that's ultimately what gets her killed in Face the Raven, until Hellbent, where he absolutely destroys the arc that he made.
The entire arc for the series, but that's okay. That's okay. We don't have to talk about Hellbent.
No, we don't. And like, I do believe And if people don't believe me when I say this, I don't blame you. Anyone who's seen my Hellbent rant, I don't think I chose Davies strictly because I hold that heart of grudge against Moffat for Hellbent. I don't think I did that. But if people believe that, I can't really fault them.
No. Look, like, it's annoying that episode exists, especially coming off the back of Heaven Sent, which is, like, I think that episode's like poetry. Like, it is beautiful, and, like, you know, the way it's filmed, the way it's written, and the payoff at the end, like that, it was all very, very well done. And, you know, like, he was, like, mourning Clara, and, like, they had the entire series, as you said, to build up the fact that, you know, it is dangerous how close she became to being like the Doctor, and how that's not a life that anyone should live. So, I don't know, if Hellbent didn't exist, I feel like I'd have a much better case. But anyway.
Well, see, the thing is, funnily enough, like, the Heaven Sent Hellbent, those being two conditions, is like, that's basically my feelings about Moffat's run in a nutshell. That is my favorite New Who episode, followed immediately by the one I hate more than any other.
Yeah, that is the roller coaster.
Oh, the whiplash of that. It's... Oh.
No, it is very weird. It is very weird.
But at the same time, that is a very high peak. Well, I mean, like, I feel like, and this was actually kind of what I was hoping for, was that we wouldn't arrive at a definitive answer, but that we would have, like, some of the strong points of each of them as a showrunner, and sort of get a chance to lay those out on both sides. That was, like, ultimately, that's kind of what I wanted to happen out of this conversation. And I feel like we're kind of getting there. And I mean, like you said when we started, we actually both like both of these.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I think it is the consistency versus the roller coaster.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what you asked me, like, what like I thought were some of the strongest points of the Moffat era, and I was like, well, I really like the series arcs that he had compared to Russell T. What did you like more about Russell? Like, was it those relationships that were formed, or like what, like, was there more to that?
I think the thing was, as much as I appreciate Moffat's ability to do some really cool narratives in terms of the plot mechanics, ultimately, what sticks with me longer is those connections. It's those relationships. It's those dynamics. And so I can't help but favor a showrunner who put more emphasis there, because I think, and again, this is not necessarily a fault, I think it's just a reality of him, is that Moffat always had more of an interest, both in terms of individual episodes and also his meta plots, like the Series 6 does this hugely, but with its arc, you know, sort of really, admittedly, very clever, twisty plot mechanics.
Yeah.
And while that's very cool, and I can appreciate that, it ultimately doesn't stick with me the way that, you know, Donna having to get her memory erased, or, you know, Mickey making the choice to stay behind to be with his grandmother. Like, that stuff sticks with me more than the twisty narratives do.
The timey-wimey. Yeah, I see that. Well, let me ask you this. What did you think of the relationships in the Moffat era between Doctor and companion, like, 11 Amy, 11 Clara, 12 Clara, and 12 Bill? Well, what do you like compared to the Davies era?
Well, the thing was, I feel like the only relation, I mean, I don't think Moffat really knew what to do with Clara as a character.
Agreed. I feel like out of those three Moffat era companions, she was by far the weakest initially, and I feel like she finally had some kind of purpose in like Series 9 with her whole arc, like the series arc there, basically. But one thing I like that still annoys me to this day is the fact that Clara just became a teacher, and like I've tried justifying it being like, she was taking care of kids, like she's obviously good with kids. But if they had made one slight little reference in the Bells of St. John being like, I'm working on my teaching prac or whatever, you'd be like, oh cool, that was a good payoff. But the fact that she was so just there that the writers could literally do anything with her annoyed me initially. But yeah, so I'll admit I need to get that out of the way. You go.
So here's the thing. I feel like in many ways a big part of the reason I like Amy as much as I do is because Rory is there. I think if it had only been the Doctor and Amy, that their relationship would not have had the depth or worked as well for me. And I think that's kind of, and again, that might actually be Moffat being self-aware. He's like, I have to have someone else in here because otherwise it's not going to quite work. But I feel the Doctor's actual relationship with his primary companion, which is what Amy is, Rory is Amy's companion. Is that actual relationship? It's fun and it's light and it's playful, but that's the thing. That's kind of what Moffat does. Fun, light, playful relationships, which are very enjoyable. I mean, that's the essence of River Song, for crying out loud. Yeah. And while those are incredibly enjoyable to watch when done well, again, I'm not sure they have the same long-term, just sort of, it sinks in and stays, in your heart the way that, the more connected relationships can when they work well.
Yeah, interesting. Well, what do you think of one of the most disconnected relationships being River Song? Because that's Moffat's character, and he did a lot of things with her story, but I feel like that final little payoff at the end of Husbands of River Song, I thought, as I was saying, that episode is playful and light. It's a Christmas special, wow, Matt Lucas. But then that little payoff at the end, I thought was so unbelievably satisfying and deep, and I feel like that was a great character payoff from Moffat.
I'll give you that, but I don't know how much credit to give that to Moffat and how much of that is down to the performers, because the thing was basically up until that payoff, I feel like in many ways River Song, and from her first introduction to sort of what happens with her over time, it's Moffat trying to inject heartfelt emotion into his snarky, flippant characters, and as it goes, as her appearances progresses, those are the moments that kind of fall a little I'm not sure I buy that.
Yeah, okay, I can kind of see it, but I don't know, I feel like would Davies do a character such as River Song in his era? Because I feel like River Song is so Moffat, and I genuinely enjoyed the idea of two lovers met out of time, out of sequence, and then I love that idea. I feel like that's such a unique and beautiful idea. Okay, well, I don't know if Moffat would have done that Davies would have done that in his era.
I don't think he would have. And again, that speaks to sort of the boldness of the ideas that Moffat would bring to the table. And all the credit to him for that. And just total side note, have you read the book The Time Traveler's Wife? Because based off what you've just said, if you haven't read that book, don't watch the movie, read the book.
Read the book, okay.
Read the book.
I will do that.
But yeah, no, that was probably too bold a narrative idea. Because if Davies was bold at all, he was bold on the emotional front. I think that what he did with Donna, and then later on with Wilf, having Wilf be the emotional core of End of Time, Part 1 and 2.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, that was a very strong, that was an emotional, bold idea. Whereas, again, Moffat does the timey-wimey narrative bold ideas.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I forgot that Wilf was there for that 2-part finale. That was brilliant. So what did you think of Donna's introduction versus when she got cast in series 4? Because I wasn't here for the time, but like, what was your initial reaction with Donna and how she redeemed herself?
Well, I mean, like I've just at time of recording fairly recently revisited The Runaway Bride because I'm doing the overdue Doctor Who reviews.
Yeah, you are.
Oh my god, that hurt. That episode is painful. Like it's and the thing is, like I'm sort of doing a curated viewing of Doctor Who with my partner Liz, and I'm probably gonna skip that one, which is gonna be rough because she's really looking forward to Donna because we have a mutual friend who like basically is Donna.
Oh really?
Well, yeah, no, like she looks like Donna and she has that attitude, and yeah, so
that's ridiculous.
I know Liz is really looking forward to that. And I'm like, I don't want you to see this episode. No. But and the thing that I've seen people say, and obviously I was too disconnected from British pop culture at the time this went on to appreciate this. What people have said is that basically Donna in The Runaway Bride was just the stock Catherine Tate character that she tended to do in her sketches and her comedy and all of that. Whereas when she came on as the companion, Davies actually wrote a proper character for her. And I'm prepared to buy that based off what little I've seen of her sketch comedy stuff. It does tend to fall into I'm funny because I'm loud.
Yes, and ridiculous.
Which is very much the angle that The Runaway Bride is going for. And I don't think it even works there, but arguably it works as a one-off. But I'm really glad that Davies had the presence of mind that when he's like, okay, we're bringing her on, we need to very carefully rework this. Still have it feel like the same character, but we gotta do this better. So actually sort of injecting her with that sense of melancholy and feeling like she missed out when she told the Doctor that she wouldn't travel with him, and like seeing that weigh on her, I think that did a lot to sort of bring her down to earth a bit so that she worked, I think, really well.
No, I'll admit that is a brilliant point, and like her payoff at the end of series 4 is so heartbreaking. You wouldn't think that if you'd only seen Runaway Bride being like no, like it's great. So like it's interesting. Like Moffat does have his roller coasters, but I feel like Davies has a few little bumps in the track as well. But he does redeem himself in the end, which is good. Yeah,
I mean, like when I say Davies is consistent, that's not to say that there were never bad episodes under.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
Under Davies' reign. But the thing was, usually with Davies, they were more hiccups as opposed to notable dips. Like I consider most of Series 7 to be kind of a low point.
Yeah, I see what you mean. What did you think of? Sorry, I was genuinely curious. Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
I think it's a better episode than people give it credit for. Honestly,
as do I. I genuinely feel like that's what it's not an episode that's going to stick with you forever and have like a meaningful impact. But I feel like it's a great popcorn episode.
I mean, yeah, that was sort of the. I mean, that Chibnall actually wrote that one.
Yeah, that's why I bring it up. It's just interesting.
But that's the thing about that episode is like it's called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. The title alone should kind of clue you in that this is going to be a bit of a lark. And the fact that people are like, oh, it's so dumb. I'm like, it's called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
What did you think you were getting into?
Yeah, and like. I will accept that there's some Doctor Who fans where that's not the kind of Doctor Who that they like.
Yeah.
I buy that, but if you're willing to every now and then take a lighter, fluffier episode, then I don't see what's wrong with that one.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to see your thoughts on that one. Interesting, very, very interesting.
So let me ask you, because you've been asking me like a lot about because I put the emphasis on the relationships. So like. Yeah. With Moffat, what was the Doctor companion relationship that worked the best for you? That was the strongest for you?
Well, this is such an interesting question because, like, as I said, I grew up with the whole like Amy and Rory thing and being obsessed with that. I thought that was so cool. And then Clara came in, and I was young at the time, so I loved the mystery of her, but I never saw any like sparks fly between Eleven and Clara, even though like there was a weird little moment in Hyde where they like had some weird chemistry, and I was like, that doesn't work. But for me, like in retrospect, I feel like Bill and 12. I thought Bill was one of Moffat's best written companions, just like in general, and I liked the mentor dynamic that the Doctor had in the end, and just like Bill was like she was a badass, a bit sassy, asked a lot of questions, but like I don't know, so I feel like those two just worked so well together, and I couldn't see Bill having that whole oh, I'm gonna be like the Doctor, or I'm in love with the Doctor. I feel like it was more along the lines of Donna and Ten in any regards to Moffat's era. That's how I feel.
Donna and Ten or Seven and Ace is another good comparison, I think, for them. And actually, yeah, I really like them too, because she's impressed with him, but I get the sense that she doesn't idolize him the way so many modern era companions do. She's like, oh, there's this older guy who's done and seen a lot. I have the chance to do and see some stuff with him. Cool. I'll do that for him.
And she seems genuinely interested about like learning more about like what's out there. Like I remember in Smile, she pulls the Doctor aside for a second, like thank you. This is like I can't remember which, like this is the best like you what did you say? I don't know, like field trip ever or something. She's genuinely having like a great time, seeing the universe, seeing what's out there, because she was well, I like the fact that she wasn't actually at university and she was just in the kitchen. She would go to lectures just to learn things. Yeah, like I felt like that. She was such a cool character. It's a shame she only got one season, but at the same time, I'm glad that was her season.
You know what's another thing that just occurred to me as you said that I hadn't realized before, and it's probably a big part of why I like Capaldi and Bill a lot. He wasn't trying to impress her.
No,
because
not at all.
The Doctor has done that. He definitely did it with Rose. He in a kind of a jerk way. He did it with Martha.
Backhanded way.
Yeah, and I think 11 definitely was trying to impress Amy.
Oh, 1,000%.
I love that Capaldi was at no point trying to impress her.
No, I don't know, he didn't really want a companion at the start.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, I feel like they were just like two mates just seeing the universe, seeing what's out there. And I like that. I feel like that was Moffat being like, okay, I feel like I went a bit too ambitious with Clara there. Let's just bring it back to reality for a second. So yeah, I really do enjoy Series 10 and Bill and that whole arc, and like Missy. Series 10 is great. I'm having a lot of appreciation from Series 10 in this conversation right now.
I do like it was weird to me because I don't see it argued as much anymore, so I do wonder if it's one of those things that people have gotten a little more distance from it, they backed off from it. But I remember at the time people like, every series he's done has gotten worse. I'm like, really? Because Series 10 was really good.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to hit. Because like here's another thing that just occurred to me is like trying to think of like the handling of villains under each of them.
Oh.
So
gosh.
Like I think Moffat tried a bit more of trying to create new villains because obviously, I mean, they debuted during Davies' era, but there's the Weeping Angels, there's the Silence, there's Missy. I think for my money, Missy is Davies' biggest hit when it comes to villains.
Do you mean Davies? Missy?
I'm sorry, Moffat's biggest hit when it comes to villain. And with Davies, I think overall I would still rate Davies a little bit better because I look at things like the Dalek episodes under Davies, and the Daleks just felt way more dangerous.
In the Davies era, I will agree.
They became increasingly trivialized. as Moffat's era went on. And I thought that initial return of Davros was chilling, and I think when it came to and when I say villains, I mean mostly the recurring, because when you get into one-off, that can be more dependent on the individual writer, which may or may not be.
Yeah, well,
Moffat
I'm trying to like think of like an original monster from Davies that sticks out to me, and I'm actually struggling here because I can't really think of
Well,
one.
I mean, there's the Slitheen, which I think might be the only ones that recurred who didn't originate in Classic.
Who weren't one off.
But
I mean, I like Midnight. That was cool.
Well, I love Midnight. If you're talking truly one spot, yeah, the Midnight entity is freaking terrifying. But even the Slitheen, I would still kind of point to as sort of showing one of Davies' strengths, because while the Slitheen are not great, I think Boomtown, especially in the depiction of a Slitheen character, works way better than their original two-parter.
Oh, yeah.
Because coming off of that, he seemed to have learned, like, okay, the farting was too much. Like, the whole babyface thing, babyface alien thing didn't really work. We're going to show that as little as possible. We'll do one fart reminder, but other than that, let's refine this idea and make it work better.
Well, that's interesting. Like, because I feel like, you know, just from a purely behind-the-scenes standpoint, they would have had to have filmed, like, Boomtown and the original Slitheen two-parter before that even went to air. So I'm wondering if it was like through his writing, or if someone pulled him up being like, you know, maybe have less fart jokes in Boomtown. Because people
Excuse me.
I know people that aren't really fans of Boomtown, but I love it. I think it's one of my favorite episodes of series 1, because it is a bit slowed down, and you really feel the stakes of the debate between should the Doctor, let this creature go, or should or whatever it was. But yeah, I don't know. From behind the scenes standpoint, I don't know if that was him learning or if that just happened to be the case.
Well, it's hard to be certain one way or the other. If I were to guess, I would say most likely, because I'm pretty sure they do. I mean, they shoot these in blocks, but I'm pretty sure that the filming block for the two-parter happened first.
No, it would have.
And my personal suspicion would be that he looked at the finished product of that, or even the rough cut and the edit, and went, "Oh, okay, maybe tone it down a little when we do the next one."
Yeah, no,
but
I believe that. I believe
that's speculation on my part.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the Slitheen are one of his only big creations that I can think of. But then, with Moffat, as you were saying, he's got so many. The Silence, they freaked me out as a kid. And I'm at college now, and, there are a few Whovians, but, here I can introduce it to a lot of people. And I normally show them my personal favorite, The Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon. They're like, oh my gosh, that is terrifying, that is chilling. I'm like, people hiding behind the sofa is, what Doctor Who's about. And so, I don't know, in a lot of regards, I feel like Moffat scared me more than Davies. If
you go to Doctor Who for scares, yes, he is better at them, because I think I mean, we said we weren't going to talk about individual episodes so much, but just for point of comparison, I think that Midnight is probably the only Davies written episode that is
that one's hard to watch without hiding a little bit.
And I do love
creepy.
that episode. I think it's one of the best things he wrote, and it is very creepy and unsettling and kind of terrifying. But it's really just the one. Whereas Moffat, the Empty Child is scary. The Weeping Angels are scary. The Silence are scary. So,
but yeah, no, there's a lot. But yeah, we weren't saying individual episodes, but I feel like in terms of scare factor, Moffat probably does take that one.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's what we keep coming back to, is which one ultimately is better depends on what you as a viewer.
Yeah, it's literally all down to the individual.
Yeah, it's what sticks with you the most after you see Doctor Who. Is it the, the really cool twisty narratives? Is it being scared? Is it feeling more emotionally invested in the characters? And different eras will give you different things, which I actually like overall.
Yeah.
I like that with the change in showrunner can bring a shift in emphasis so that it's not just being the same thing until it gets run into the ground.
As we were saying, it does come down to the individual. And I know that from what I've gathered, you love the relationships and the payoff and the heartbreak and everything. And I love that as well. But I also love Moffat messing with time and unlinear storylines and being scared. So as I said, it all does come down to individual preference. So Doctor Who's just a great show in general. There's always something someone's gonna like, and something someone's probably not gonna like.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's probably a good note to wrap up on, because I think if we keep going, we're just gonna keep circling.
We'll find the same thing.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you so much for having me.
If people who don't already know who you are, like having seen you on here, where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Crispy Pro. I do just a lot of similar things to the Legend Council of Geeks here, but I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of good YouTubers out there. Council of Geeks is one of them, and I'm honored to be on here today. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and this was a good time. Thanks so much for being here.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for watching. Thanks again to Crispy for, participating in this thing. We kept things pretty civil, which is what I love about the YouTubers that I know. We don't always agree, but, we can talk. This is fun. Let's chat it out. So, thanks so much for watching. And there's a whole bunch of stuff down in the description. You know all the stuff. Patreon, that's kind of the big one. But, there's merch, P.O. Box, social media links, link to my book. Yeah, it's all down there. So give them a look. Click on stuff. It'll take you places, but also you don't really have to. I'd appreciate it, but you know what? At the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meeting. So until next time, this council is adjourned.